evening and welcome to another Monday Night Live. Folks, it's Masters Week. It's Masters Week. Everybody, if you're a golfer, should be excited about this week. Now, we're going to talk about our picks a little bit later. There'll be some umming and ahhing and some pontificating. Got no time to talk about that right now. What we have got time to talk about is Lottie.
Lottie Rhodes, special performance. That.
My
Incredible.
goodness me. I mean, I've been a bit tearful with my last client, young Christos, who we had on the show a few weeks back. Shot his first ever round under par today. Shot 2 under.
What a moment.
I know. What a moment. He also...
it's not fair. It took me till I was about 42.
And he won a comp last week on the old course at Warton Heath.
Nice.
But, these are landmark moments in golfers' lives. Yeah. And to see Lottie, one of our own here at Precision Golf, we look after her with her equipment, to see her play that sort of golf down the stretch at the Masters, because you've got to remember that these kids have seen the Masters on TV. It just shows that of yesteryear you need to go out and prepare and spend 3 or 4 years on tour, but these kids are getting the opportunity at such a young age, and what a great performance. Yeah,
I mean, ever since, Mark's fitted Lottie a few years back and a couple of times since, and ever since we first saw her, Mark said, and we both agree, this is a special young lady, and just the mental strength to not only to win it, to do it the way she did, to lead going to the last round, to go 2 behind, to then basically pretty much birdie the last 4. I mean, 16, that putt looked in all the way. And to have a home player shoot 6 under, an American player, for a Brit in America to do that on that course, it's just, you couldn't dream of it. I mean, dreams are made of.
Spectacular. We're going to talk a little bit more about Lottie in a moment. Lots to come on the show. As per usual, I've got multiple discs in front of me. The iPads, if you're watching from Precision Golf's channel, anything you want to ask Simon, feel free to do so. And if there's anything golf swing related, feel free to fire those questions over. We always get through them as best we can in the allotted hour. And if this is a first time for you, do give us a like and a share with your friends. So Lottie, equipment-wise, where has she progressed to from the early days?
Well, I mean, it's Mark who's actually done the fitting for Lottie, so I've not had first-hand experience. I've seen some of the results, but in terms of the progression, I would have to defer to Mark's knowledge on that one.
Well, maybe we'll have to get him on next week.
See if we can get him on. But I think the one thing that was really always noticeable with her was mental toughness. Just absolutely knew her game so well, and knew what she had to work on, what her strengths were, and I thought that came across Saturday, with that finishing round. Just knew where to lay the wedge shot up to on 15, but her driving, she was always been pretty long, even as a younger young lady. But yeah, so, I mean, that one up 18.
Spectacular. I think we've got a little WhatsApp work chat here at Precision Golf, and we could all hear Mark jumping up and down in his underpants while he lives eating his curry, watching it, enjoying the show. Because when you are connected with these golfers, you really it affects you emotionally, mentally. Because to see people, come in, work on their game, go out and perform, is a great excitement for all of us here. So obviously we all wish her well.
I particularly think in this kind of circumstance where it's slightly different with Monty or Charlie or their seasoned tour pros, to seeing Lottie go through and kind of go, it's like with Chiara. We both said they're special, and to see them both come through, that there is just something different about it. Like you with Christos, seeing his progression, you see the growth of them, you see them develop as a player, and to kind of in the back of your head go, ooh, I look forward to watching this one down the line, and for them to go on ahead and won on huge stages. Fabulous.
If you've just heard a can open up in the background, that is James clicking out a Hofmeister. Two of them. So let's get on to the questions. Lee Roberts is in the house. Nice to have you along with us, Lee. Hey guys, keep up the good work. Wondering if you had the new TaylorMade Mini driver. If so, Could you give it a hit and tell us your thoughts?
So the reason we don't is because they're done on such a limited run. So it's what they call a hero product, where they do very, very limited production. I think it's something like 200 or 250 heads in Europe. Is that by the time we had a demo in, we wouldn't be able to buy one. So we don't have one in because there's literally no point us getting one. We will get a chance to hit it, but currently, yeah, not a product that we're actually going to retail because of the literally almost negative life cycle to it. They're sold out before they're even in the shops.
Oh gosh, okay. Lee Roberts, sorry, also, how would the stock shaft in that new Mini driver compare to a Tensei White or even Flow T1100 shaft? I'm getting used to all of these names and logos now, by the way. Happy Masters Week, thanks to...
I'm actually, off the top of my head, I'm not certain what the stock shaft is. I know last year they did a kind of a Pro 4 style one. And generally an aftermarket shaft's going to be higher grade materials, so rotationally, torque-wise, a little bit more stable. Might feel a little smoother relative to that stability because of the high grade materials they need. They've got thinner layers, more of them. They can actually layer them up in different directions and do more with them, so they tend to feel more consistent, a little bit smoother. But generally speaking, you're going to see lower torque and more stability off centre.
And we all need a bit of that in our lives. Niels Axon is in the house. Evening, chaps. Evening, Niels. Nice to have you with us. Glenn 400. Hi, guys. Quick question for Stuart. What's the best ball position for 5-wood, and also the negatives for too far forwards or backwards? Have we got a 5-wood?
No, I shall get you a 5-wood.
Oh, let me get you a 5-wood. What you've got to remember with these fairway woods is that you are always having to balance out launch and strike. As soon as you're putting the ball on the deck, we do have to hit down. Now, if I may, when you are striking a golf club with less loft than normal, you've got to understand what type of golfer you are. If you are the type of golfer that is a low launcher, hands up for those that are low launchers, and me. If you are a low launcher, ball position forwards is always going to be the best bet for you. The advantages of having the ball further forwards is that it allows your right side of your body to move more through the shot. The minute you start to have the ball too far back and you're trying to trap it, you'll immediately feel like the ball won't launch, and that's where you can actually start to get people hanging back. So I would always recommend getting the ball further forwards because it allows you to really get your right side on top of the shot. The problems with having it too far forwards, if you are someone that is a bit too much of an up striker, you are going to encourage a bit of a heavy strike, but I would try and really encourage you to play through that. Understand, even though these 5-woods have got less loft on them, obviously the weighting in them does help it launch, doesn't it, Simon?
Yep.
So it is going to give you a bit more than, say, a 4-iron does or a 5-iron. But at the end of the day, you are always going to play much better shots with a ball outside of your toe than inside of your toe. So I'm going to pop this golf ball outside my left foot here, which will really allow me to feel like I can get myself up with play, as opposed to, that was a little bit off to the right. The more it gets forwards in your stance, we can really feel like we can drive ourselves forwards, but you're still going to get the flight because you're just meeting it slightly later in the arc. You put that same ball further back in your stance, all of a sudden, as soon as you start getting it earlier in the arc, even though you get a better strike, the thing just won't take off. So always get it further forwards. Hope that helps.
Very nice.
Alrighty. Who else have we got in here? Christian Diamond. How effective are golf shoes with carbon or carbon fibre propulsion plates? Are the claims of increased distance and stability true from companies like Painter? My personal view, the amount of people that step on my mat that don't use the ground would be 95% of the time. And so if you're using the ground well, I think you'll find that they'll have a positive impact for sure. But if you're not using the ground well, I think you can get more mileage out of your current shoes by using your feet better than going out and spending some bucks on getting some carbon soled shoes. Have you had any experience with the shoes?
I think with from a shoe point of view, one, I think there should be, and this isn't something we're looking to take on, but I think there should be more proper shoe fitting.
Yep.
Because I think we all use our legs, our feet differently. So some players, I've always had a little bit of lateral, some players are much more rotational than others, and therefore you're going to put different forces into the ground and through your feet. So actually from a foot health point of view, and then a performance point of view, I think there should be, someone somewhere should be doing a proper shoe fitting.
Yeah.
But I think depending on your action and depending on how you use your feet in the ground, then I think if you're someone who has a lot of movement, then something that's a more rigid structure is actually going to help ground you and hold you a little bit tighter. But I think it would depend on the player as to whether there's a benefit or not.
Yeah, and I think that's quite a nice feed on to all the work that Kate is doing, our S&C girl here, High Rocks world champ, that's doing work with Charlie and now Georgia Hall. We're working on good strength through their legs to really power golf swings. I don't think people truly understand the dynamics of how well your upper body can work if you've got good lower body action. And I think when you're starting to see, we're witnessing how these girls train, they are so all in, aren't they? And it certainly inspires me, and I'm sure it does to you when you're seeing them in there knocking out 2 hours in the gym and then going out and playing 18
That's
holes.
what I should be doing. But I think you're right there in terms of it doesn't matter what's going on up here if you haven't got a stable, solid, stable, strong lower body, you can't be as efficient. So actually, unless you're stable down here, it's not irrelevant what's going up here, but actually that's for me is the foundation to then build the swing off. And something that I've struggled with over the years, having lots of lateral, I've had no real stability, something that I've seen a much more consistent game by getting a better lower body action. And just do it getting stronger now.
And then you've got the other slide is you've got Incy Mehmet that's coming down now, training with Kate as well. That is, seeing Stu Robinson up there, getting herself fit and healthy, playing some golf when she's not on Sky. I mean, it's like a who's who of golf down here the other day. We had Charlie, Georgia, Incy, Colin Montgomery. It was so wonderful.
Someone said,
see.
is it always like this? Well, not quite
Not
always,
quite.
but it's quite nice.
We've got obviously John Terry here as well, that's training with Kate and his lovely wife Tony as well. I mean, we jest about it. If there was a trainer on the planet that's had Marcus
an athlete. Mark's an athlete as
we
well.
need to bore you for 5 seconds. Lottie Wode, need to hear about her equipment. Have you got 2 seconds or are you in a fitting?
Just about to start.
Let's just have a quick look before we carry on about JT and Kate's endeavours as a trainer. Let's see if we can get Marcus in.
I'll just use the same.
You come in here.
Yeah. So Lottie Wode, obviously, you were celebrating such a fantastic performance at the weekend.
Yeah.
Where is she at equipment-wise? How's her equipment evolved?
Well, it's been a little while because obviously she's in the States now, but we saw her from a very early age, sort of from 14. The potential when I saw her, I mean, it's just you could see she was going to be a special golfer. Just the way she had a wedge dialed in from a very early age, like give you a carry within a yard of each other. If you had 10 shots, it was like, this girl's a bit special. But just a lovely girl. But literally a silent assassin. Because in there is a ruthlessness that others I haven't seen. She's just really focused. And the dad's a lovely guy because he is very supportive, but he stands away from it. He allows the people of special knowledge to sit in, like the coach and the fitters and stuff. I'm over the moon about it because it was something I predicted a good sort of 5-6 years ago, and it's come to fruition, and it'll go on from there. Fingers crossed it'll go on from there because it's going to be a big story. It's another one like Kiara, hopefully, if Kiara starts getting over the injuries, and a couple of what we've seen from a very early age and see it. But I'm over the moon. Yeah.
Well done. Thanks, Mark. Really appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Spot on. But no, we're just saying, I mean, if there was a trainer in the country, I don't think there's anyone more popular right now than Kate with working with, these golfers and elite footballers. I mean, it's so great to see. We've got such a spectacular gym here, and Kate's walks the walk and talks the talk, doesn't she?
So I think that's a key thing, isn't it? I know
Crucial.
from my own point of view when I was playing, it's like my coach at the time could show me what he wanted me to do, and you kind of go, okay, right, I know I can trust this person, and the fact that Kate can outdo anything that any of them want to throw at her in there. It's got to give. It gives a huge amount of confidence that someone really knows their stuff. Can put it into practice as well as know the theory, and I think there is an importance to that. I think at that level.
And a big good luck to Kate in Cologne this weekend. So let's Ian Lightfoot, or Linfoot, should I say? Mura IC602. Who are they designed for, in your opinion? Crystal ball. How long will they stay relevant? Are they a good investment?
I think the 602s are. Let me grab the head so we're going to see what the head
For
is.
sure. Let me see if I won't ask any questions on there. Let me come on to. Oh, have you got it up there?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So the Mura, the IC602, which this little beauty here. So it's a hollowed out cavity back. So very pretty new from Mura's point of view. They've got internal weighting, a little bit of tungsten, a bit more perimeter weighting. It's a more playable iron than most of their models. So certainly from a head point of view, this is something that in principle you're looking at a P770-esque kind of head. Definitely a softer sound, softer feel. I think the only thing kind of looking at it, it's very, very consistent from a launch and spin point of view. It's not necessarily for someone looking for a bomber of a head. There is a little bit of ball speed off it, but if you're looking for distance, this is not necessarily as strong as, say, an i530 ping or a P790 or 770 even possibly. But from a consistency point of view and a bit of forgiveness versus, most of their other heads are blades. So this is certainly going to give you softer sound and feel, and a consistent, relatively forgiving performance, but it's not a cannon of a head in our initial testing relative to some of the other heads of a similar kind of design.
It's a delicious looking bit of kit, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very, the stepping and the marking on the back. It's a pretty club head, and that's what Mura do. So it's got a little bit of a thicker top line where it's got an enclosed, hollowed out head. So I guess it's Mura going into a little bit more of a modern head. I know there are some people that would say, is that really what Mura should be doing? And there is, I think that's a very, very valid question.
But they're also trying to sell golf clubs, right?
But golfers, forgiveness helps. So I think it's certainly a relevant head for them to be doing. The purists are always going to orient back to an MC502 or the MB101, those kind of blade star heads, TC201, the single piece heads. But I think it's very relevant for them to be going down this line because that more people would like to be in a Mura head, and this does open it up.
Yeah, for sure. I missed out Josh Wright. Hi Simon and Stuart, waiting on the new driver QI 10LS V8. Sinister. Thank you. Great fitting with Nick C. Stuart, without giving away all the coaching secret sauce, any drills to help a ex-cricketer reduce spin? Very simple. Less loft through strike. Get a grip a little bit stronger. Do whatever you need to do to make your face look more left of your path. And if you do that, you will always drag the spin down. Nuts and bolts. If you've got an open face in your golf swing and you have a good recovery down at the bottom, that will always create lots of spin. If you are a strong-faced golfer, you'll always have a lesser spin golf swing. So do with that what you will, but I would always go straight to the grip first of all.
Yeah, presuming you're a covered driver.
Yeah, exactly. Josh Wright goes on to say, examples with the TSR Ventus Blue, 2 degrees up, 2 degrees of down at strike, but still chopping up to 5,000 RPM. Yeah, you've definitely got an open face.
It's an opening face.
Yeah, you've got an open face, for sure. Matt Giles, I just got fit into a VW Nemesis driver shaft and been in Nemesis driving iron for a while. Should I go into a Nemesis in my fairway wood?
If it's in the hybrid as well, so the Nemesis series is a higher balance, sort of counterbalance setup, mid-lower spin. So if it's in the hybrid as well as the driver, then that is a trend that's going through. Not all the shafts have the same kind of balance profile from a driver to a fairway to a hybrid option. However, the VA, the Nemesis, does. So it's a strong likelihood, as long as the dead weight of the shafts works for you, there's a strong likelihood that the Nemesis is going to work in a fairway wood as well.
Yeah.
But come and test one out.
Matthew says, just nipped over to Good Golf Coaching. Hi, came down in January, great wood fitting. Came with my boss, both had a fitting, hope he paid. Hybrid you fitted is great. Do you have a drill for you if you take your hands back before the club head start on the back of a... so, do you have a drill for if you take your hands back before the club head in start of backswing? Yes.
The old...
Yes.
Drag away.
Yeah, very simple. And I tell you, this is a really common one actually, particularly in quick swings, because obviously we've got to remember we've got super light golf end of the golf club and you've got the heavy end, so you get this quick drag away. Two ways you can change it. One, need another ball.
You're a hockey player in a Formula.
I was a squash player. I was never a hockey player. I always worried about getting whacked on the ankles with hockey. No.
Hands as well.
Hands.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And
lovely.
hitting the face by the ball. That's always a good one.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
face, hands, and ankles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Glad I didn't play.
Full set.
Yeah. So this is a great way to do it. So if you have a golf ball behind, what you're looking to do is get the ball moving away quicker than the handle. That's one really good drill. And the other one is take a golf club, flip it around the other way so that the butt end of the golf club starts to get heavier, because when the butt end is now heavier, what you'll then start to be able to feel is the counterbalance that you start to encourage by having more weight at this end. When it's lighter, it makes the head end heavier, the handle end lighter, and so it's easier to drag it. So what you can do is flip the club around and make some back swings and just rehearse those back swings with a grip with a club head at that end. It really does take away the speed in the handle.
Very good.
Yeah. Hopefully that helps. John Puckett, Stu, nice to see you dressed like a normal human.
See, I went Augusta-ish from
Yeah,
bright
Zalias,
colour.
that sort of, that
So
sort
I
of
thought
look.
I was
Yeah,
inspired by a
yeah.
bit of brightness.
I'm fascinated that my outfits create...
Stu, have you lost weight?
Yeah, I think I have actually, 13 stone 1, almost 10
You've
pounds.
lost that much?
Almost,
You lost 13 stone. You didn't look that big before.
Stu, nice to see you just there. Okay, what's the difference between the dollar taper and Tor V shafts, bend profile, etc.? Best show on YouTube.
Do we get a rosette for that, like Crufts? So dollar
bring one
taper,
in.
yeah. So the Tor V is designed to be flighted the same as the standard KBS Tor, but 10 grams lighter. So it's a slightly stiffer tip than the KBS Tor. The dollar taper is designed around a little bit of a lower flight, so it's a slightly stiffer tip profile, but the heavier weight profile. So it's a KBS Tor weight, but a stiffer tip. The Tor V's the stiffer tip, but a lighter weight. So in theory, the Tor V is going to flight a little bit more. Both good shafts. The Tor V's a little higher balance than the dollar taper, if you're testing one, you're normally testing the other, and they're very, very similar from a swinging point of view.
Very good stuff. Nice to hear some club questions on my channel. Lovely stuff. Gary Satterfield. Now, Gary is the guy that was chatting to my sister
I was going to say,
in the chat channel.
This is dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah, he's very dangerous, this man. Hey guys, keep up the good work. Thank you, Gary. Stu, can you give a quick demonstration of stalling the hands to let the club swing? So if you have followed my channel, I talk about the swing moment, the transfer of energy from the pull phase in a backswing to the swing phase. And so depending on the golf club, and I did a video just a short while ago on all of the irons in the bag and how they'll feel different. When you're hitting something with more loft, should I say, you're meeting the golf ball more in the center of the stance, and we are able to have more of a pull influence on that to create a slightly stronger angle of attack. You now move the golf ball further forwards in your stance, and when you move the ball further forwards in your stance, you go from having some decent shaft lean to now all of a sudden we're wanting this shaft lean to actually kick back at us. So we're looking to feel with a longer iron, longer golf club, that we have that pull and swing. And so the stalling out of the handle is essential to enabling the golf club to swing down at the bottom. If you keep on pulling, which is fatal as a golfer, you'll keep the lever loaded, and particularly with a longer golf club. And I think this is the biggest nemesis for people with bad driving. They don't understand that the fact that you've got to allow the lever to unload, and the more you put the ball further forwards, the better opportunity you have of that. It might feel like you're sitting back and you're hitting too much up on it, but the sensation of actually feeling how this lever can pull and swing is crucial to maximizing the energy that you're using in your lever system. So the best drill is just grip it with your left hand or your lead hand and just make some little swings and just feel how that club head can swing past the handle by the time the handle gets to the leg. So if I get my handle to my leg and I could sort of have a golf club out here.
I would offer to hold it.
Yeah, I know. I was just about to say, you couldn't reach in there, sir. So if you were to hold this club shaft here, and I actually did a video on this, I had a golf club and I had one of the wife's hair ties with an alignment stick lined up to my left leg, and it just gives you an understanding of at what point we need the golf club to swing past the handle, or else with a driver you just won't get the upstrike. And it was funny, I was watching a podcast. Josh Antman interviewed Nick Faldo and really talked about Rory's golf swing and how much he's a hitter up of the golf ball. Now when you look at Rory, he hits up on it with some decent shaft lean, but is really up with left shoulder and torso. Now that's terrible for iron play because you're trying to get some downstrike on it. So when you're hearing about Rory talking about a driver swing and an iron swing that are two different feels, it's understandable, but someone out there teach Rory how to deal with an angle of attack. I mean, rather than just trying to give it a quick tip and a quick feel, I think,
that's why it's hot cold, isn't
it? Exactly.
Especially short game wise. You know, the wedges, that side you can always see when it's going wrong for him because he has that and then finishes there.
Absolutely.
Whereas
right.
that one, when he goes and plays the shorter one and holds it up, he's actually creating a better
angle
swing
attack
direction
and delivery. Absolutely right.
It's interesting actually, your comment earlier, going back to a couple where you said about the weight of the club. You wouldn't believe how much proportionally the club head is in the overall weight of the club. So on a 6-iron, the head's 260 grams, shafts somewhere between 60 and 120, and the grip's 50 grams. So the proportions of weight are huge down that bottom.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, when I have my fitting with Mark, you know, the weight differential, I'm looking for something heavy because I want to encourage that lag and swing, you know, but for everyone's makeup in their swing, as you know, the weight has such a huge bearing on when that lever system unloads, and it's not talked about enough. We did a video, a hugely popular video about weight over flex. It's massive, isn't it?
Massive, yeah, and it's one that you've got to have. There's got to be enough weight to use in the swing to build speed with. Go too much and it gets stuck behind, then you're creating that either that drop or having to throw the shoulder over. Too little weight, you can't build speed, you have to back out of it. And then where that weight sits in the club is critical depending on how you put, which bits of you, are you someone who pull on the handle or are you rotation based? Has a really big effect on the energy imparted into the club and how the weight in the club has to complement it. And ultimately that's what good fitting is. It's getting the club to match how you move. And then you get consistency and then you're able to stay balanced. But it's not talked about because there's no definite answer to it. I couldn't look at you and say, look at your club speed and go, oh, you're in that shaft. Because I don't know yet without testing the limits what works and what doesn't, but most importantly, why. So it is, fitting is ultimately is A/B testing. As long as you know the parameter you're changing, you can understand why it's working, why it's not, and manipulate.
But I think that's where we've done so well with so many people that have come in, haven't had their best day on the fitting mat, come upstairs, seen either myself or Lewis, got themselves in a better place swing wise, come back down, have their fitting, get fitted. All of a sudden, they've got a bit of an understanding of what they're trying to do with their swing, whether that might be then going on to do some work with Kate or Stu Robinson.
Yeah.
It really is a 360 opportunity to get people understanding as much as just having a quick lesson, a quick fitting. And I think that's where I see the evolution in the golf industry that needs to educate. It's great having all of this AI and looking at swings and all that kind of stuff, but understanding the individual is crucial, and feeling like they've got some resource to tap into.
Yeah, and that communication between the different parties and the different specialists is key. I mean, for Kate to know how to train someone if they're managing an injury, well, she and Stuart communicate a lot. Or if you're needing someone to work on something with the swing, and again, I'll use either of those two, Stuart might say, hang on a minute, physically we've got this to manage, and then you'll know how to shape your coaching. We might say to someone, look, from a fitting point of view, actually, if you can see yourself, Lewis, or whichever kind of professional they go and see, and this whether it's angle of attack, whether it's path, this is going to reap bigger dividends to start with. Do that first, come back. Ultimately, the end result is going to be better. But the more each party the sort of circles completed in terms of communication, the better.
We're championing ourselves a little bit there, but I think
right.
Yeah, but I think we need to stand up and be counted as coaches, as fitters, and deliver a service that is right for the individual. I think ultimately is what we're talking about. Norwegian Warhound.
Good afternoon.
He's back in the house. Lovely to see you, lads. Been too long, it has. What is typical release cycle for Srixon irons? 2 to 3 years, question mark. Also curious about loft and lies after thousands of balls in a monitor over the winter. Take care.
Yeah, a 2-year cycle for Srixon. They're pretty regiment with that. It's trying to think. The irons should then be being refreshed either back end of the year or early next year. I don't think there's a cycle coming through. And ultimately, depending on what you're hitting off, but if you're hitting a lot of shots through the winter, especially a lot of players focus and practice with 1 or 2 clubs, absolutely get them either checked if you've been working on swing changes and make sure they're still relevant, or if it's just been practicing and they might have bounced out. If you've got a soft forged head, then they will likely move a little bit, then just get them moved back to where they were before.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Glenn 400, massive help. I do the opposite like you would imagine, resulting in the low flight. Yeah, get that ball further forwards, Glenn. Honestly, even if you have to tee it up, get it further forwards outside your left foot and just go for it, because it will really start to fire up your leg action and your right side. It really is a biggie. Dave Hurley, lovely to see Dave Hurley in the chat room. Evening, guys. I'm playing Titleist left dash ball. It's fantastic for wedges, so I don't get too much backspin on the greens, but I'm losing distance with driver. I have an 8-degree TSI 3 driver. Should I adjust driver to try and find a different ball?
It's interesting on that, because I know Dave has a lot of speed.
A lot of speed.
So actually, if the left dash is, it would have to be very, very low spin. It depends what your launch and spin parameters are. As you've done before, just message me with them after this, and I can have a look and see where that is. It's only going to lose you distance if it's a very low launch and spin, say 1500 revs, and you're losing carry. Now this time of year, that has meant loss of distance because there's no run out. The moment there's a bit of help in the ground, then you'll get that distance straight back. So if you like it around the greens and it helps keep your iron flight in control, then there's no point compromising the rest of your game just to suit the driver. Just get the loft up on the driver. But send me the numbers and I'll have a little look.
Alex Sipalat, I recently got fit into an Oban Isawa Red. What type of player would this suit, and what other shafts have a similar profile?
So the Isawa is technically mid-launch, mid-spin. So it's so within each weight range, 55, 65, 75, it sits at the upper end of that, but swings quite tip strong. It's quite tip heavy, with a little bit of response in the tip section. So generally makes a really good fairway shaft. So in terms of in and around that, balance point wise, I mean, if you're going onto the more sort of, actually no, the TPTs are going to spin a little bit less. You'd have one of the Acra, the TZ, if you're going higher grade TZ fairway shafts, the 75 TZ675, that's going to swing fairly tip heavy and keep a bit of tip response, might be a bit lower spin. Tour AD VR, that is very similar from a tip response point of view. Again, a little bit higher grade. And the Asar was a good kind of all-rounder as a shaft. It's sort of, it's not overly dear in terms of pricing, but they're great quality components. So yeah, those ones in particular, but it is quite a tip balance shaft. Maybe the VA Composites, the Slay series as well, that'd be similar.
Very good. Great knowledge, Simon, as usual. Neil Campbell, evening gents. A big thank you to Simon, don't forget me, for a fantastic fitting experience on Saturday. And meeting Monty was the icing on the cake.
That was one, I didn't know it was happening, and Neil brought his dad in for a fit, and I was stood at the back of the bay and kind of, there was someone just there and turned around, it was Colin. And it was lovely because Neil's dad and Colin had a photo together. It was really nice. Yeah.
Colin is the best guy in the world. I cannot champion him enough. I had a client, I'll tell this story very quickly. When we were just the other side before we expanded, I was giving a lesson to a guy and he got really nervous at the best of times. And he's standing there and he's set up to the golf ball. And Colin just stood just at the corner there, but waiting for Mark to hit his shot and walk across the back of the bay. And Mark could just see someone standing there at the corner of his eye. And so he looks up and looks down, and you can see him hit it, shanks it, and Colin just walked past and looked at me and went like this. So and he was off to go and see you down in the corner. So 15, 20 minutes later, Colin comes back down, doesn't he? And Mark's still in the bay. So Mark's set up, and Colin has stood just so that Mark can see him. And I said to Colin, I said, Colin, he's only just recovered from 20 minutes ago. Yeah. He says, oh, I didn't put him off, did I? I said, you might have done, he's a bit of a fan. And bugger me, Colin sits down in the sofa at the back of the bay and spends 10 minutes chatting to him. Yeah. I mean, you don't even know, just the amount of people Colin talks to and the amount of time that he's been doing it with this game. He is the nicest man on the planet.
And he just loves golf. He loves golf.
Because I asked him upstairs, I said, Colin, do you still love the game? He said, I love it more now than I did 20 years ago. Yeah. I mean, that is
just... That's why he's so good to work with. He just wants to improve. He's always looking for something to, what can make him better. He likes to understand what's going on as well, but he's just so enthusiastic about it all. And so he'll talk to anyone about it as well. It's great.
Fantastic. So if you ever see Colin, make sure you grab him because he's such a great guy, such a great guy. Neil Campbell, so Steve Furland, should Nelly Korda get a Masters invite?
No.
On cue.
No, because it's a men's major. You're not going to invite Zach Johnson to go and play in the ladies' majors. Is Nelly Korda a fabulous golfer? 100%. Absolutely. 4 wins in a row, beat Leonie McGuire 4 and 3 in the match play. She is a unbelievably good golfer. But the ladies have their majors, the men have theirs, and absolutely not.
Yeah, no. I just don't think it works. I mean, the best
not
case...
the majors, not the majors.
Not even with... I just don't think it even in the main tour event, because even if they turn up and do super well, they finish 20th. And what does that...
The only thing I would say is that Lynn Grant won the mixed event. Was it last year? I applaud...
Not playing on the same tees.
Not playing on the same tees, but I think what I do applaud is the efforts by the DP World Tour in particular to do these sort of events and to try these different things. And I think integrating, and even it's like in Australia where they've played the separate events but on the same course and integrated in terms of tee times and things, I think that's fabulous. But there's a reason why the ladies have their events and the men have theirs. I think I think we don't need to try too hard to overdo it. I think there's some great work going on at the moment, and ladies golf is getting a much better audience and much better coverage than it ever used to, and long may that continue and grow. The amount of our clients who enjoy watching ladies golf more than men's golf because they can get close to relating to it. It's more relevant watching the kind of clubs that they're hitting and the length of courses they're playing. They're more along the lines of what us male amateurs play. So there's more you can gain potentially from it rather than just seeing you know, Rory, Scotty, Ludwig Aberg hitting, you know, 350-yard drives. Well, okay, great, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But I think we should remember why there are two different tours. Let's not try and force it together.
Yep, agreed. Mike T, hi guys. Any tips when you are playing well but lose feeling of swing mid-round? Go back
that's an interesting one.
Go back to the very best shot you hit early in the round and just picture it. Picture how it felt, what you saw, the outcome. Get immersed in that as best you possibly can. That is the fastest track back to what you were doing, more than trying to find a swing key. Just tap into what you were feeling over those first few swings, because ultimately if you're playing well at the start and then you start to go off the ball, there's going to be some nerves in there, there's going to be some other possibility, could have a different wind that's caused a little bit of a disruption or lie for your golf swing, but you can tap into something that's happened really, really close by, and why not? Because that would be, as I say, that would be the quickest way back to path, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say, don't overthink it. You know, as Stuart said, if you're playing well, you've been playing well, and you're probably not playing well because you're trying too hard or overthinking it.
Yeah.
I think you've got loads of questions as well.
Yeah, well, that's right. Okay, we'll go over here and have a few on here.
But that's the problem if your brain gets in the way too much.
Yeah, very much so. Phil, happy Masters. Happy Masters to you, Phil. Any good golf coaching tips, got plenty of those, for a wedge system in terms of distance gapping and how to keep the distance in mind under pressure? Well, there's a few out there. Dave Pelt's the most well-known one, but we had Incy in after she had been training with Kate, and she was hitting some shots, and she put a beautiful post actually that we shared on our channel as well on Instagram. And Incy was talking about her hand in relation to her right shoulder a lot of the time in her backswing. And I think that's quite a nice one to go, rather than left arm positions. But I think ultimately you have to practice pitching to be dialed in. There is no shortcut. I mean, Incy doesn't play too much. She's got a comp coming up at Roehampton.
Just this weekend.
Just gone. Do we know how she did?
She had a great first round. So Hannah Screen won it with 269, 6 under. Incy had a 70 first round. I think she was lying second first round, but didn't quite manage to follow up. But she's not been playing, so 36-hole medal tournament, straight play tournament against some full-time players. You know, should have scared a few of them off the first round.
Well done, Incy, for shooting 70 first
and
round.
tough conditions as well, Sunday.
100%. Ultimately, you can't hotwire pitching. Sure, you can have these positions, but ultimately, unfortunately, that's hard yards with pitching. And you know what, with the work with Christos just recently, I said all we need to do is get you so sharp with your wedges and your chipping. And we had 2 sessions down at Horn Park, another place that I coach outside. 2 sessions, and bang bang, he's had 2 of his lowest scores and won. Unfortunately, you can't get around having a wedge in your hand with some balls, 2 targets.
There's no shortcut.
There's no shortcut.
Ultimately, you can get what in here is good for, and what I tend to do is get some kind of system and a feel for the distance, but then you get different lies, you get different stances, and actually out on course, it's so much of its confidence. Once you know, right, I know that swing goes 85 yards, and you play it with a bit of freedom, without tension, and then the ball tends to go there a bit more. So a lot of it is confidence, keeping a bit of acceleration through, but that's reps at the end of the day. Yeah,
for sure. Phil asks, can Charlie join the show? I'm sure in the off season, at some point, we'll get one of these mega stars that Kate is training down here in an arm lock or something like that. But I'm sure at some point we'll have someone on for sure. Jeff Berger, please explain down swing exit left. Okay. Okay.
So deep breath there.
So the exit left has come about over the last 10 years or so.
Hunter Mayhem.
Yeah, that's right. Hunter, yeah, good shout with that. And it's really big pull to the left. I was
grateful for that fat chip at Celtic Man.
Oh, I know. Yeah. That was the shocker, wasn't it?
It was brilliant.
It's a horrid hole, that one.
Yeah.
Exit left. Most golfers are thinking about the club head, and they think that one for one, that whatever you do with the handle, the head does exactly the same thing. And unfortunately it doesn't, because when you push the handle out, the club head moves back. And that's why for years now, golfers have been working on trying to get from the inside and pushing out to the right. But as you can see, the more I push the handle out to the right, look how the club face starts pointing at Simon. If I now pull that handle back to my left hip and I hold the club head in space, look how the club face now squares up. But not only that, and let's bring on a little prop here.
Can I be a beautiful assistant?
Well, no, you
take a seat,
yeah,
or?
no, take a seat,
Yeah.
so I don't spin it around. So beautiful.
Side saddle.
Let's imagine this is your club path. If we all wanted to get from the inside, you would drive the handle inside out. But as I say, look at that club face pointing off over there. If this space here is the inside path, and I now move my handle back to the left, look how the club head is swinging from the inside. But the feeling I have with my handle is that it's moving to the left. And so therefore, if you think about an outside in swing that every golfer on the planet is trying to fix, swinging the handle to the left, which in a golfer's brain must mean outside in, surely means outside in, but it's not. Move the handle to the left and you'll get a club head that swings from the inside. So if we now just take that chair away, I mean, you want to sit around all
quite comfortable.
So if we now have, and I'll try and line this up with the camera, if we now get the golf club in a delivery position and I now start to move the handle to the left, look how the club head is still moving from the inside. So the handle track will dictate path, yes, but the biggest one that it will always improve you is the ability to square up the club face. Because if you push the handle out to the right, you might create an inside-out path, but you'll have a face as wide open.
Shankaroo.
Absolutely, and the old pipes.
The problem with this game is it is a game of opposites. It's counterintuitive. If you're, to send the face, there are layers to it, but to send the face one way, you've got to feel like you're going the other way, and it's something that the concepts are so misunderstood. Yeah. In terms of what actually creates what kind of release.
And honestly, Simon, that's been the driver of my channel. I've wanted to debunk myths again.
Good pun.
Debunk myths of the. It's like we go into this golf mode of systems and thoughts and philosophies, and when you just think of a lever system and how we need to move around something, the game is much easier than we give it credit for. Niels Axelson, good to have a question from Niels.
It's nice to have a comment that's not related to our internet signal.
Yeah, I know.
Dear old Niels has kept us on our toes with that.
I'm going to come back to Niels because it's scanned down and we've got a few more before him. So, Richard Skinner, what are your thoughts on Srixon ZX7? My brain had to take a moment to read that. Versus the Titleist T150s. I hit them both and the club data was almost identical. Simon, which one would you choose?
So I would choose.
Why?
I will qualify this.
Why?
For my own game, I would choose a ZX7. Purely because for me, if I put tungsten out the heel and the toe, I actually lose strike. There are some players, I'm kind of one of the weird ones where a slightly less forgiving, more centered weight actually helps me dial in strike. For a lot of players, I'd choose the T150, which is actually probably, I think that'll be our best-selling ironhead this year. As an all-around performer from a ball speed, stability, it's a very, very, very stable, well-designed head. But the tungsten heel and toe give you a little bit more stability off centre. So if you're looking for a little bit more forgiveness, T150. But if you're someone who wants a slightly more solid feel and doesn't mind losing a little bit of forgiveness, but keep the flight strength, ZX7. And it's a slightly softer feel than ZX7 because it's all forged.
In December, we're going to see if he was right with that T150. James, make a note of that. Oh, one of them today. Yeah. Scott Watson, I play PX 6.5, but I'm looking at graphite after wrist injuries. I never liked the Fujikura Axiom 125S. So now I would like to try the UST Dart V120X. So how does it EI profile compare with the PX?
The actual EI profile of the recoil Dart, I'm not 100% certain.
Can you just quantify what an EI profile is?
That's so it's a graph of stiffness from the handle end through to the tip end. So it's a way of kind of seeing regional stiffness in the shaft.
Like regional stiffness.
Zonal stiffness. So, I mean, the one thing that the Project X is very, very stable through the mid-upper section. So it is a shaft that doesn't really give you anything back. And steel will not absorb as much vibration as a composite, which is why if you've had wrist injuries, the composites can help reduce vibration, but they can also, because there's so much more material, wall thickness, they can actually feel a little harsh as well, a little bit dead. But the recoil Dart series tend to be quite tip balanced, particularly their iron shafts. But being a few grams lighter and being an all graphite, they will absorb a little bit more vibration. But it's likely to, it'll swing pretty differently. It might be a little bit more tip weighted than the Project X.
Okay, so we've got 9 minutes. We've got questions to get
and
through.
We've got to do Augusta as well.
Oh yeah,
Your
got to do
pick.
Master's pick. I got mine. Keith L 2022.
That's code for answering quicker.
Keith L 2022. Hi, I play Ventus 7X in driver and love it. What iron shafts would you guess as better suits? Currently play PX 6.5X and really like them, but I'm curious about the 7.0X since I feel heavier shafts seem to work.
If you don't like feeling anything, then they're great. No, ultimately, it depends which of the Ventuses and the driver. I couldn't actually say for sure. You wouldn't necessarily have to go up to 130 grams odd in the iron shafts, but other ones to potentially look at if you're wanting a bit more feedback. Actually, so the Project X, the LZs actually give you a little bit more responsiveness, but swing a little bit heavier. It's a very hard one to answer, but if the 6.5s aren't heavy enough, then maybe Dynamic Gold X100, something like that.
Nigel, hi. Got a TM QI 10 IS 9-degree driver. I don't know why that's making me laugh. With a KBS Cat 460X flex shaft, 45-inch with a standard Z grip. Swing weight is C9. What's the best way to get it up to D3/4 without making overall weight too heavy?
I'm surprised it's that light in swing weight. I'd have expected that to be heavier. The LS does have a little weight in the bottom that some of us can change. I'll just grab a head just to show you which one I mean.
Let's have a little look over here. Darren Cope asks, is trying to hit fades or getting the club head and hands going left the best anti-shank thought? If not, do you have any anti-shank moves? Yes, very simple. Put a ball on the outside. That's the first one. The second anti-shank move is to get yourself a Swiss ball. Stick it on your bum, between the wall and your bum, and make some swings. Roll the Swiss ball up and down the wall, and it will give you a feeling how your belt line will control the outside of your circle. Shanks come from someone having normally too much energy going off over there. The Swiss ball will keep you a little bit deeper, a bit more sat into the heel, and help you get that handle a bit more underneath you.
That was a dance move in the 80s.
Yes, it is,
so
and in the 2000s.
The weight at the back here is one that can be changed by those of us that have a particular tool to do it, or the weights. But I'm surprised at how light the swing weight is for that combination. That would normally be about D3. So check the head weight, or no one stuck a back weight in. I think it was a standard grip size.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So yeah, it's surprising it's that light, because that's not a light head. So. But yeah, either changing the weight there or several grams of lead tape on the toe.
James very kindly posted up a link to the weight versus shaft flex video, so do go check that out. That's been a popular one and you'll learn plenty there. Simon the Maestro hosts that one. Glenn 400, what happens when you have a player come for a fitting and is not striking it very well due to nerves? Let's say, do you tell them to come back?
Yeah, ultimately yes. We'll do whatever we can to relax someone, to get them to chill out a bit, to just enjoy the process, hopefully. Although if you've got the shanks or something, it's not very enjoyable. But ultimately, yeah, we'll do whatever we can to get someone to relax and try and sort of ease into the session. If
Short answer. Short answer.
We know if we're not getting the results that we want the best for you as well, so we'll always tell you to come back. Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Gary Satterfield, thanks so much, Stu. That tip has helped my driver tremendously. Can't wait for latex day. Thank you very much, Gary. Nice to hear. That doesn't sound good, him or me. Robin Morton, how will the pros alter their game for the Masters? Thought your T-shirt was going to be spectacular this week. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. I've been a little bit under the weather. Next week, promise you, next week. I think really this week is about high flight, and I think controlling your golf ball well, obviously with a high ball flight. I don't think these players do as much adjustment to their games as they once did. They just don't. Back in the old era of Faldos and the Trevinos and maybe Woods even, of changing their game for it, it's never worked. Look at Martin Keimer, never worked.
Yeah, he tried to change his game to suit the Masters, it ruined him.
Yeah, go play your golf and do well on the greens, which ultimately that's what you'll do at the Masters. Read the world.
See, I disagree about just being on the greens. I think they might add a lofted wood in, but the conditions look testy the first couple of days. A ball striker, an iron player, always wins at Augusta.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Langer, Faldo, Langer would never have won there.
Agreed.
Scheffler,
Agreed.
Garcia, they're not great putters.
Yeah.
They're great iron players.
Yeah, okay.
Because they can position the ball on the green below the hole. That's who wins at Augusta.
I was listening to Faldo in his in a podcast. In 1990, going into the last round, he switched his putter, and that turned him around, and he won well. So I think we'll be slightly short-sighted that you don't have to putt well at the Masters, but I think you're absolutely right. You've got to hit the right spots. You've got to be in the right places. Yeah. So I completely
I think you have to. You have to win any tournament on tour now. But I think you get a Crenshaw, you get Woods, you get a Mickelson with a magic short game that wins. But they win because they're also hitting great iron shots as well. And if you're out of position on the greens, it doesn't matter how good a putter, you're not going to hold many putts. So, iron player. I'm letting go for the fact that we're going to try and get through all these questions. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We'll go to 7 and we'll answer what we can. Ian Linfoot asks, Monty's what's in the bag, please? If he's walking past and in one night, maybe we'll do that. We had a great session with Monty, didn't we, via a Zoom call. It was a cracker. Sure he'll do that. Steve Furland, it was meant to be a joke. Can't remember what Steve Furland said. Oh, should Nelly Korda get a Masters invite? Okay. Difficult to sense comedy on a text chat, but that's okay. Niels Axelson, this is the question that I wanted to get to. What are your thoughts on the Mizuno shaft optimizer? Is it a shortcut to start fitting with more suitable shafts when a lesser fitted establishment than yours? I only wanted to get to his question rather than, I didn't know what the question was. Yeah, I think the bottom line of it all is when a piece of equipment like that can give you a 95 gram shaft and a 130 gram shaft as relevant options, then clearly it's a start point. I mean, ultimately it's to try to idiot proof the fitting as much as possible, because they are sending it out in volume to, some of the fitters are very, very well qualified and very experienced, and some are in a pro shop and really not, and are very new to the game, to kind of teaching, whether it is or doing a fitting. And it's literally a start point to say, right, of their options, which ones are the best place to start from. But I can't be overly polite about it, because it can't tell you anything about how someone moves the club. So Andy Corso, good evening, Andy. New Mura 602s, have you tried them yet? If so, please share your thoughts. So we have tried them. That was the head we got up earlier on. Not quite as fast a ball speed as I expected from it in terms of where it's pitched at, but consistency of flight and maintenance of spin, definitely it's more towards that end, and a bit of a cross-face performance, but not necessarily distance. Very good. Well, look, this has come to the time of our picks for the Masters. James, let's start with you. Who are you picking for the Masters? Two people. One of them is... Give us a name. Faldo's not playing.
I'll let you decide.
Cop out.
He was deep in the gin and tonic.
So
I'm editing.
He's deep in the, I'm going to go Matsuyama.
Okay.
Tough conditions. He's played well last week. He's always up there. You can't. It's hard to look past Scheffler, really.
Yeah.
But I think if we're not going the Schefflers or that, we won't be going McIlroy. I don't think. It'd be interesting, be fascinating if he's up there to see how he copes with it. But if I was going an each way bet, I think Matsuyama and there was one. I think there was one of the Live players. Yeah, there's one of the Live players who did well. I think you'd have to look at Rahm. Be close up there as well.
Okay, so you're going with Matsuyama, Rahm and Scheffler. You're really sticking himself out there, isn't it?
But they're likely to win.
No, I'm joking, I'm joking. I'm going with Aberg.
Yeah.
I'm going with Minwoo Lee. And
I did say him earlier, didn't I? Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, as in like a few weeks back.
Like 4 months ago.
As a major this year.
No, 4 months ago, yeah. And my third pick is going to be Brooks Koepka. Yeah, I think he's going to go.
I think the big game players come out to play, and they were both like on Liv, Rahm and Koepka were kind of they're lurking.
Yeah.
That was my thought with Matsuyama. He was kind of just below the top this week, but significantly there.
It's going to be a great week. Well, as per usual.
Favourite Masters memory over the years.
Favourite Masters memory.
As a youngster growing up.
It's got to be Faldo beating Scott Hoke.
Okay, yeah, mine was '96, Faldo Norman.
Yeah. And I think Freddie not hitting it in the water when he went on to win as well. I think that was a biggie. Right? There's so many memories, and as golfers, as you will all attest to, the Masters brings out emotions of yesteryear, of playing as a kid and junior, and seeing like all sorts of nasty things happen to golfers doing super well.
Yeah, it's never over till it's over.
No, absolutely. As usual, we really are super grateful for all of you joining in. There's so many questions there that unfortunately we haven't been able to get through. So next week, do come and get involved very early so that we get to answer your questions. Going to be a busy week for us all here at Precision Golf. Plenty for you.
Well, I'm off on Wednesday down to the Halford Hewitt down at Royal St George's and Deal, so it's a playing week for me.
Deserting us when backs against the wall. Got it. Yeah, okay. So that's James. You got to noted.
We're practicing stingers.
Yeah, super. Thanks so much for watching us, and from Simon and I, see you next week.
Enjoy the Masters.